I want you to address, if you wouldn't mind. So there's this thing about Biden's mental health, which is kind of picking up steam in the conversation. There's also this aspect of, um, if someone wanted to argue who's more racist, Donald Trump or Joe Biden, or who sent more black people to jail, Donald Trump or Joe Biden. I would think that that would be an argument that there would be points on both sides. Like what would you say to? So what would you say to that part? Then I kind of want to go back into the Biden mental health thing, if he's well enough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a Biden fan, but I think anyone who would attempt to compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump just doesn't sound very serious, And I felt the same way about Hillary Clinton. I'm definitely was not a Hillary Clinton fan by any stretch of imagination, but Donald Trump is just a different monster, and I think we all have to learn to calibrate and be a lot less. I don't want to say ideological, but just look at the material conditions, right? Of what a Trump presidency, the first 4 years and another 4 years would do. Now, if anyone thinks that a Joe Biden presidency would not be an improvement on a Donald Trump presidency, I just think you're probably speaking from a very significant place of privilege and irrationality. Donald Trump is an existential threat to the world, not just to the United States. You know what I'm saying? Like, his geopolitics are just as unintelligible as this crisis he's been trying to manage here in the United States. There's just all kinds of just decision making that we don't even know the damage he's done. The way that he is a plutocrat, he's an oligarch, he is obviously siding with the super wealthy. And I know that some folks have that critique of Joe Biden may be very valid. But I think the politics of Joe Biden as a neoliberal are very different from the politics of Donald Trump, who's a wannabe authoritarian dictator. And so we can't fall into the same trap that we accused Bernie Sanders of falling into, where he didn't have a racial analysis, but he had a class analysis. We can't fall into the same trap of being oversimplistic about the distinctions between these two. We have to appreciate that on the Supreme Court, the next president will pick likely Ginsburg's replacement. Hillary Clinton, if she was the president, would definitely not have picked the Republican appointee. What's the rapist guy that's on there, right? And the results of these kinds of decisions, they last a generation, right? And so I just think we have to grow and be mature and be pragmatic. The idealism of what it means to be young is the beauty of youth. But if you talk to elders who have lived through the worst of the American experiment, at least in our lifetime, we don't know what 2021, 22, 23 will look like in a post-corona age. And I think we want to have someone in office who we at least have the confidence that he will put people around him in his administration that believe in science, that hold some progressive commitments and tendencies, even if they may be more left-leaning or centrist than the president himself, right? And so, yeah, I just think that it's really important for us to clear our eyes a little bit. Not allow the disappointment of our ideal candidate not winning to make us confuse Biden presidency with a Trump presidency part 2. Can you imagine what a Trump presidency part 2 would look like now that he knows that there is no Republican counterbalance to his wickedness, evil, and mendacity? I don't think any of us want to try that again, right? And so it's always up to us as the people. I don't have to be excited about Joe Biden as a candidate to go vote for him. I just need to realize that if I don't vote for him, then I'm guaranteeing another 4 years of chaos. So if you love yourself and you love your grandmamas and your nanas and them who live in the South, they don't live in California, they don't live in New York, they don't live in Chicago, they don't live in these bastions of progressivism where you can, just move around and be on Twitter and Facebook. These folks live in Klan country still right now. You ought to vote for the candidate that will at least make sure that the Department of Justice and the Housing Department and the Health and Human Services Department, the federal arms of our democracy or of this country, can be extended to people who don't live in what Gavin Newsom says, the nation state of California, right? That's a privilege we have.
There's been a lot of talk on the internet, I suppose, and maybe in some other circles about is Joe Biden's mental health well, based on like this type of stuff that he said in interviews. Have you noticed that? Do you have concerns about that?
Oh man, I feel like we watched Vice President Biden age right before our eyes. Not age in the sense of ageism, but just kind of he's kind of lost the step. I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's some moments where he looks like he just can't finish a sentence, and he forgets what he's talking about. But, I still think that a bad Joe Biden is better than the best that Donald Trump has shown us. See, I gotta believe we all gotta remember that this is not a monarchy. The president of the United States has a cabinet that enacts of political philosophy and set of commitments. And so as long as Joe Biden picks Stacey Abrams or Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris, a black woman, preferably, which is what he said he was going to do, I think. As long as he picks someone like that and then fills his cabinet out with all the competent people we know are out there, then Joe Biden pretty much can just come out and wave like the queen for all we care, right? As long as we got the people around him that can execute a political vision that makes sure we have health care for everybody. And if it's not everybody, for as many people as we can. Make sure that we are able to steady the economy, but not make it an economy that is only about profiteering. Make sure we get the education department back on track. Make sure we get the housing departments back on track. You need department heads who aren't like tied and wedded to corporate interests and things like that. And so, I know that some folks feel like, Biden is just going to get in there and I don't know what kind of political, leader they think Biden's going to be. But, the idea that Biden would go into the presidency and reenact the 94 crime bill again is, I think, just quite a terrible political analysis, right? This is a different time. Criminal justice reform, thanks to the young people in Ferguson and in Baltimore and here in Oakland, like criminal justice reform is a plank of the Democratic Party. You can't even get through the front door if you ain't talking about criminal justice reform. You can't get through the front door now unless you're talking about figuring out how to increase health care. You can't get through the front door if you're not talking about how to decrease our foreign commitments with the military. So the party has changed, and all of the elected officials who are part of the party, they've had to move to the left. Now, they may not be all the way hanging out on the left diving board, getting ready to jump into the ocean, but I just think it's really, really important for us to remember what the president will do. The president will pick a cabinet, will pick judges, will be the kind of megaphone for a set of values and decisions that hopefully will correct or at least put back on track, a government that has been, just going off the rails. I mean, at the very least, we know that Biden won't be praising white supremacists. We know that Biden's not going to be out here like, berating reporters, and we, you know, it's just certain things we know that he's not going to do. Some say that's a low bar. Yes, it is. It is a low bar. But you know, think of the low bar as a step in a stairwell. Let's take that first step and let's try to get out of this nightmare and just go back to a bad dream, and then we'll go up from there.